The US, UK, and Australia sprang a surprise by announcing the AUKUS Security Pact, which includes transfer of nuclear-powered submarine technology from the US and UK to Australia. While this pact is aimed at countering China, it ended up angering France that lost a $40 billion deal to supply conventional powered submarines to Australia. The AUKUS deal also has implications for India and Japan, who are partners in the Quad grouping with the US and Australia. To understand how AUKUS impacts India, the Quad partners, the Indo-Pacific, and Europe, we talked to strategic affairs expert Brahma Chellaney.
Certainly, the world was taken by surprise by America's unveiling of this new agreement with Australia and Britain. These are three English-speaking countries coming together, and for the US, AUKUS represents a major coup that will yield a series of highly lucrative contracts. So AUKUS itself is only a framework agreement. There is nothing in it other than a framework, but this framework is supposed to yield a series of contracts. It's like the 2005 US-India nuclear deal. The nuclear deal agreement was a framework agreement. There was no concrete element in it, except there were commitments by both sides. And the US-India nuclear deal led to the US becoming India's largest arms supplier very quickly after the deal was signed. Similarly, AUKUS will make the US a major supplier of conventional weapons to Australia. It already is, but it will give the US a major boost. And also, quite significantly, the US will share advanced nuclear propulsion technology with Australia so that Australia can build nuclear submarines at home. And the US will also share with Australia other advanced technologies like quantum technology, artificial intelligence technology, etc. Frankly, it's apparent that AUKUS will overshadow the Quad, because when you have two of the Quad members entering into a special relationship, quote unquote, this is a special relationship, also involves technology sharing component, that makes that inner partnership between the US and Australia the first tier relationship, with Japan and India being reduced to the second tier. The risk is that the Quad itself could become a second tier partnership, with AUKUS being the first tier alliance. After all, just when efforts were gaining currency to add a concrete security component to the Quad, the US sprang a surprise by unveiling the AUKUS alliance. The AUKUS alliance has exceptional security and technology transfer dimensions, and therefore AUKUS is going to cast a long shadow over the Quad. And let's not forget one important thing, that Biden has been overturning Donald Trump's policies and actions. It was the Trump administration that resurrected the Quad and gave the Quad strategic meaning. And Biden took 4 months after his election in November to embrace the Quad. And that appeared to indicate that he had reluctantly embraced the Quad. Now, just before Biden hosted his presidency's first in-person Quad summit, he oddly unveiled AUKUS, which risks overshadowing the Quad. Also, one other thing which I wish to point out is that AUKUS calls for transfers to Australia of frontier technologies that the US will not share with either Japan or India. So in this light, the feeling of demotion may linger, especially in Japan. Japan hosts more American soldiers than any other US ally. Also, Japan faces a far more pressing Chinese threat than Australia. This is an alliance among English-speaking countries. It's the Anglosphere coming back and wanting to call the shots in global geopolitics. AUKUS brings Britain as a major Indo-Pacific player at the cost of France. France has a major presence in the Indo-Pacific through its overseas territories, such as New Caledonia. In fact, as compared to the UK, France has a much bigger presence in the Indo-Pacific. So obviously, the French feel very slighted by AUKUS. The problem for India is that whatever has happened behind India's back. And there's little that India can do to change what has happened, because the AUKUS alliance certainly makes the Quad less significant. India favors inclusive collaboration in the Indo-Pacific among all democratic powers, because such inclusive collaboration is essential. In fact, it's the only way to build power equilibrium in the Indo-Pacific and to take on the Chinese might. So if you create exclusive security arrangements within the Indo-Pacific, which is what the AUKUS represents, such exclusive security arrangements militate against that larger vision of concerted joint action against the growing Chinese maritime expansionism